Hey guys, what's going on? Steven back again, and welcome back to Top 10 Most Powerful Characters in Warhammer 40K Part 2 by Wes Hammer. So I am down to the last 3 characters. In Part 1, we had 3 of the 4 Chaos Gods, which I pretty much guessed when I was making my prediction in Part 1 on who was going to be on this list. I wasn't sure if he was going to do the Chaos Gods as a whole or break them up into each individual Chaos God, which is what he did, because that kind of, took away half the list, because you got 4 Chaos Gods, I guess the Emperor, so there was basically half the list, gone right there. I think the only other one I got right was the Khorne. So I was 6 out of 10. But in Part 1, we had 3 of the 4 Chaos Gods. We had Tzeentch, which is still up on screen because I backed up the video just a little bit. Slaanesh and Nurgle. We did have the Khorne on here as well. And I can't remember what the other ones were. Kagarak. Yep, the Khorne. Oh, Kane. Okay, yep, I forgot about Kane. And... oh, Gorgon Mark. Okay. So there was pretty much Part 1 right there. So I guessed at least 6 out of 10. So right now we have, obviously, the Emperor, which is actually next, because that's where I left off in the video. We have Khorne, because he's the last Chaos God. And as for the last one, maybe the old ones? Maybe? I mean, they were pretty powerful. I mean, they created 2 entirely new races to help fight the Necrons. Granted, didn't work out so well for them at the end, but still, creating 2 entirely new races, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty impressive. So that is my prediction. The old ones, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something else out there in the unknown that is, some sort of powerful spiritual being or something. I don't know, but that's my guess. So let's get on to the video and find out who it is. So here we go.
Don't think he personally has the ability to win. The compulsion to keep the game going is just too ingrained in him. Meaning doing anything that would end the game is actually an impossibility. Number 3, the Emperor of Mankind.
Oh yeah.
The Emperor is without question the most powerful mortal to have ever lived, and by the time of the 42nd millennium, he has most likely become a god. Although this is intentionally left purposely vague and cryptic within the lore. He was able to defeat and bind Dracnian, the demon created in the first murder. He is said to be more physically powerful than any of the Primarchs, which is incredibly impressive considering that we've watched Angron bench press a Warhound Titan, and Sanguinius take down 2 of them, as well as a Warlord Titan in melee combat.
Well, it would make sense for him to be stronger than
that causes demons to flee in terror
Primarchs.
or burst into flames. He defeated an Ascended Horus, his Primarch son that, at the time of their battle, had received an enormous power boost from all 4 Chaos Gods. As a child, he managed to kill his uncle by stopping his heart with a single thought. We've seen him use his incredible psychic might to force the entire Wordbearers Legion to kneel with a single psychic command. We also know that he is a perpetual and cannot truly die, and that he has mastered every form of academic study. So with that impressive list of feats that were accomplished when he was just a mortal, I'm guessing you're wondering why he's not ranked number 1 on this list, and we're gonna get into that. Okay. The Emperor of Mankind is not just a character, he is a plot device, a MacGuffin, a living deus ex machina, and every other literary trope you can think of, all wrapped up into a single entity. He is exactly as powerful as any individual story needs him to be.
Right.
He is completely unknowable. He has plans within plans within plans. He has mastery over the ability to foresee into the future and can take a single action
so he
that
can
will,
pretty
over
much
the
do
course
whatever
of
is
thousands of
needed.
years, come to create an entirely new societies, much like what happened when he defeated the Void Dragon, imprisoned it upon Mars, and then subsequently the dreams of machines the Catan would generate in the inhabitants of the Red Planet would eventually give rise to the Mechanicum, a faction that would supply his armies with fantastical new war machines. He is a psychic phenomena, a hurricane of arcane potential. Yet, despite this, due to many contrasting depictions of him by different authors, we aren't able to get a real feel for the full scope of his abilities without filling in the blanks with our own interpretations of the text.
Okay,
On
fair
one
point.
hand, he is said to be powerful enough to challenge the ruinous powers, yet in a fight against a 30-foot-tall orc, he had to be saved by his son Horus. But did he throw the fight intentionally because his foresight told him that the resulting saving by his son would boost his confidence and thus play into future events? Who knows? Maybe. There's nothing in that story to suggest that.
Okay, so that's how they're kind of using the Emperor. It's just, we need him this powerful for this book, so that's how powerful he's going to be. We need him to be this week for this moment here, so someone else can come in, like he said, Horus saving him from the orc and stuff like that. Oh God, I'm losing. Don't worry, Dad, I got you. I'll save you. Ha! Yeah, kill that giant orc, and then, ha! I saved my father. I killed that giant orc. Way to go, son. Wink. So yeah. He's just a
no winking at the audience,
plot
no
device,
foreshadowing
just
of future events.
He is
or some
whatever
cryptic
Games
line
Workshop
at the
needs
end
him
of the
to be.
book. Yet this is the narrative that many of us have adopted. As the godlike being who can go toe-to-toe with the Chaos Gods, losing to an admittedly enormous orc just doesn't make sense. But I feel that's kind of the point. The mystery, the uncertainty. No matter how much somebody learns about the Emperor, they are constantly left with even more questions by the end of each and every story. They are left in a constant state of doubt over what they think they know. And
so it's
to
understandable
me,
then that he is not
the entire point of a character
most
like
powerful
the Emperor.
character.
Is he a giant, shimmering, godlike being that will lead humanity into the future? Or is he a shriveled up old perpetual that just projects an illusion of grandeur to manipulate those around him? Did all of these events actually happen? Or are they simply the result of thousands of years of propaganda and selective record purging? This is what makes the Emperor so fascinating.
Fair point.
And above all else, in my personal opinion, a literary triumph. The idea that you can have this character be written about and expanded upon by dozens of different authors over multiple decades, each contributing a new element to the multifaceted enigma that is the Emperor. And yet, he never gets boring. He never falls into the Superman trope, wherein a character has demonstrated so many ludicrous feats over the years, it's impossible to take any threat he comes into contact with seriously. Because at the heart of it all, the reader is still left doubting what they think they know about him. I'll fully admit that the Emperor is one of my favorite characters. Not only is he deeply fascinating, but he's inspired more debates and late-night deep dives of obscure lore than any other character I can think of. Yet, because of his unknowable nature, assessing his true power level after his ascendancy to the realm of the spiritual is an impossible task. Every single failure of his can be written off as him either only using 1/100th of his power, or that failure was a secret victory, as the unraveling of one of his plans would put him closer to his ultimate goals. There is equal evidence to support such notions as true and false. Did he plan the Horus Heresy from the start in order to eliminate problematic legions, much like he did with the Thunder Warriors? Did he know Magnus was going to sabotage his Webway Gate, and thus made a problematic judgment call at Nicaea to ensure that it would happen? Was it his plan all along to end up on the Golden Throne so he could ascend to godhood? Did he seemingly crusade against religion in order to eliminate competition so once he was entombed there, he would be the only god left for humanity to turn to? Was he lying to Ra Endymion when he described his foresight as fallible? When it comes to the Emperor, the questions and mysteries are more captivating than any answer could ever possibly be. And if the writers are smart, they'll keep most of those mysteries unanswered.
That is some
Aside
like
from the
Zinch
examples of physical
level
strength that I mentioned at the beginning of this, we also know that in Warhammer, beliefs have power. The more people believe in something, the more it begins to manifest in the lore. The Emperor has been worshipped as the one true god of humanity by quintillions of people across the galaxy for over 10,000 years. Thus, we can assume that his spiritual form has swelled immensely in power, many believing that he has truly become a god. If this is true, and he really is on the level of the Chaos Gods, then he would be able to display similar powers to them, and namely, the ability to create demons. Each demon is a splinter of their patron deity. having a portion of their personality and in many cases supposedly looking like them. It is believed by some that the entities such as the Living Saints are the Emperor's equivalent to demon princes, and the Legion of the Damned is his equivalent of demons. Which would make sense. If the Emperor had the ability to create demons, they would certainly resemble Astartes. Now there is evidence to support both of those claims,
interesting.
But as of today, it is something that is still intentionally left vague and mysterious. The best tool we have for measuring his current power level is the accepted truth that the Emperor is in the warp, battling against the 4 Chaos Gods,
and
this managing
is deep.
to keep them at
this
bay.
Is some
He's not strong enough to
level,
outright destroy them, but he can keep them from destroying the physical universe. His power is not absolute, because if it was, then we wouldn't be seeing demons manifest in our universe in the first place. If he was more powerful than the other gods, they would have all had to turn their attention solely on him. And herein lies the problem with the Emperor versus the Chaos Gods. We know that it's not just him fighting all of them at once. It's a 5-way battle, where everyone is fighting everyone. While the Emperor is fighting off all 4 of them at the same time. Nurgle, for example, is fighting Khorne, Tzeentch, Slaanesh, and the Emperor, also at the same time. It's exactly the same for each of the combatants. That means in this hypothetical scenario of a 4 against 1 in any direction, any of these figures could be eliminated. If the gods set aside their differences and gave the Emperor their full attention, there would be no contest.
No.
He would fail.
Yeah.
We also know that if one of the gods manages to become too powerful, the others will unite to knock them back down to the same level as the rest of them. This happened famously with Tzeentch at one point, and the resulting battle between him and his siblings saw his crystal staff, said to be the most powerful weapon in all of existence, shattered into thousands of pieces, which then rained down upon the physical universe, each one representing a different spell, thus introducing magic to our realm. Even though Khorne is said to be the most powerful of all of the ruinous powers in the current setting, the other gods have not deemed him a sufficient enough threat to form an alliance. We can assume with that it is the same for the Emperor. He's powerful enough to be a problem, but not powerful enough for them to unite against.
Right.
It is said that from our perspective, the Emperor is growing in power every single day, as more and more of the beliefs, hopes, and love of humanity funnels into him. He swells in might, and will one day overpower the Chaos Gods. It's similar to how the decadence and extremes of the Eldar swelled over time and eventually gave birth to Slaanesh.
This is like
they started off as non-existent and grew more powerful over time until a breaking point was finally reached, and they ripped their way into our reality. However, it's important to remember that in Warhammer, when we speak of the Immaterium, time is meaningless. The Chaos Gods refer to Slaanesh as having always existed, even though we in the physical universe have an exact date when they were born. The gods are simultaneously at their weakest and strongest points. They have always and never existed at the same time. To me, this means that we will see the Emperor become more active over time, and it will appear as if he is getting stronger. But his battle in the warp against them is like trying to measure the immeasurable. The escalation is as ultimately irrelevant as it is impossible to quantify. But perhaps that's the point. Perhaps he will never be strong enough to kill the other gods. Maybe introducing a god of order to the Pantheon will bring balance to the Immaterium.
But isn't it said if he dies,
that's the best we can hope for.
Dies, like
Number 2,
fully dies.
Khorne,
he would
also known as the Blood God or the Lord of Souls, is the chaos god of war, violence, and bloodshed. He is the manifestation of anger, hatred, rage, and murder. Considering that Khorne derives his power from the desire to spill blood, it comes as little surprise that in the grim darkness of the 42nd millennia, where there is only war, Khorne is currently experiencing a resurgence and is considered to be the most powerful of the ruinous powers. The urge to commit violence in one form or another is one of the most basic drivers amongst any mortal species. It doesn't matter how advanced a society claims to be or how enlightened they've seemingly become. Violence is a primordial force that will never fully lessen its grip on mortals. Whether it be a warrior defending his home, a sadistic act of murder for murder's sake, or every drunken barroom brawl that has ever occurred, every violent act or expression of rage flows into the Immaterium and directly empowers the Blood God. Although he has been worshipped by countless civilizations across space and time, there are a lot of similarities to how he is depicted. He's often shown as being a towering giant with a canine head, armored in brass and seated upon a mountain of skulls, on top of which he lets loose bellowing war cries that echo through reality.
Now, I heard a theory or rumor. I don't remember what video it was, who the video was by or anything like that. I was just going through and watching all sorts of videos and stuff like that, so I don't remember the video or the channel. But I believe the video I was watching said, once again, I don't know if this is a rumor or if this is confirmed or anything like that, but Khorne is, what was it? Khorne's paraplegic, and that's why, like, all the pictures of him are of him sitting. I don't know if that is true, if that's a rumor, if that's an urban legend, a myth, or anything like that. I just thought that was a very interesting thing that was brought up, said in that video, that Khorne's paraplegic, which is why there's really, as far as I know, no pictures of him standing. You know, you got the famous picture of Tzeentch, floating there with the, like, little hands and stuff like that, and you got the the picture of Slaanesh and stuff like that, and Nurgle and stuff. But every picture, supposedly, I guess, of Khorne is always sitting. Like, as far as I know, unless you guys have a picture of it, never seen Khorne standing. I don't know. Once again, confirmed, rumor, urban legend, myth, conspiracy theory. I don't know if that's true, but that was just a very interesting thing. I just remember hearing in a video. Let me know if that's actually true or not.
Sanguine call to spill blood and take skulls. He is the physical and immaterial, figurative and literal incarnation of rage, and is often depicted wielding a mighty and terrible axe or sword known as Warbringer. A sword so powerful that it sunders reality when swung, cleaving through dimensions to eviscerate whatever has drawn the blood god's ire.
Okay, well,
Despite
I guess this is a fan art picture.
Khorne is also the most straightforward of the gods. He has an absolute disdain for tricksters, and any who would lie or cheat their way to victory. Naturally, he and his followers hate sorcery in all its forms, and vastly prefer to fight with melee weapons, viewing those who use long-range firearms to wage war as cowards.
Sitting.
The earliest lore on Khorne depicted him as a multifaceted god, of not just rage and blood, but also one of honor. Although the further along we move in the timeline and the more 40k lore gets updated, Khorne's honorable side has mostly taken a back seat. Although him and his followers still maintain certain convictions about how war should be fought. At the end of the day, Khorne cares not from whence the blood flows, only that it flows.
Right.
When it comes to his mythology as a literal figure, we do have a pretty good example of his raw physical strength, wherein one of his most esteemed bloodthirsters, Skarbrand, sought to overthrow the blood god after having been manipulated by Tzeentch into thinking he actually stood a chance against him. When Khorne's back was turned, Skarbrand threw everything he had into a single blow with his axe, a blow that was said to be so powerful it could have split entire worlds. This didn't even dent Khorne's armor. Enraged by the cowardice of the attack, Khorne grabbed Skarbrand by the neck and shook him so hard that all he had ever been, all of his personality, his cunning, his ambition, all of it was shaken out of him. He then threw the greater demon so hard, he flew across space and time for 8 days straight, leaving an inconceivable burning trail of destruction in his wake. Remarkably, Skarbrand survived, and where once there was a proud warlord whose hubris caused him to fly too close to the proverbial sun, now was nothing more than a blood-crazed monster. Number 1. The hive mind. The hive mind of the Tyranids is without a doubt the most intelligent and dangerous thing that exists in our universe. It is able to simultaneously control infinite Tyranid organisms across infinite battlefields at the same time, orchestrating impossibly complex battle strategies and engineering new forms of evolution in order to overcome just about anything its enemies can throw at it. It is, for all intents and purposes, an organic quantum computer on a level that is completely incomprehensible. And it's not only controlling all of the Tyranids within our galaxy, a species that reproduces so quickly that it has effectively become the Milky Way's dominant life form, outnumbering every other species thousands of times over with the exception of potentially the orcs. But the Tyranids come from outside of our galaxy, and some believe they have already consumed every other galaxy. Some say the fleets we have seen thus far are only a small portion of their entirety. The Tyranids are not only the most powerful faction within Warhammer, they are the most powerful character, as every single one of them is part of the same organism. The Tyranids are not a race or a species, it is a single creature. Despite their appearance as an alien dinosaur bug monster, it's more accurate to think of them as something like an aspen forest, wherein each individual that we see is part of the same single creature. But whereas the aspen forest can stretch out over multiple kilometers, the Tyranids have spread in a similar manner across multiple galaxies. It may even be more apt to think of them in a way that compares them to a human body. We are a single individual, but we are made up of dozens of trillions of cells. So too is each individual Tyranid a cell of the larger body that is the hive mind. The name, the hive mind, is not a title of a leader organism that controls the Tyranids. It is quite literal, in that the entity is the combined consciousness of all Tyranids. Every single one, from the lowly Ripper all the way up to the massive ship-sized entities that ferry their troops across the stars, are simply smaller parts of the same body. When we think of the hive mind, we often tend to imagine some giant alien brain that exists out in the dark places between galaxies that controls all of the Tyranids. And there very well might be an organism like that, but even if there was, it would still just be another organ within the Tyranid body. The Eldar have come to believe that the hive mind is more powerful than Slaanesh, and represents the greatest threat to the physical universe. This is a passage from Wraithflight, where one of the Eldari is able to, for a moment, tap into the hive mind's consciousness. Beyond the shield, she saw the great dragon's true form, not the hideous intrusions into the mortal realm that swam the Black Star Sea, nor as a Farseer might see it, as a great and braided cable of malicious fate dominating all the skein. The first was merely part of the whole, the second, psychic abstraction. What Lyanna instead saw was the reality of its soul. It was a great shadow when seen from afar, a wave of dread and psychic blindness that preceded the Hive Fleet's arrival. But the greatest shadows are cast by the brightest lights, and seen closely, the soul of the hive mind shone brighter than any sun. She was so close now that she perceived the rigid topography of its mind, larger than star systems, an entity bigger than a god. It contemplated thoughts as large as continents, and spun plans more complex than worlds. It dreamed dreams that could not be fathomed. She felt small and afraid before it, but she did not let her fear cow her defiance. Against this vista flickered the souls of the Eldar, their jewel brightness dimmed by the incomparable glare of the great dragon. And this was but a tendril of the creature. The bulk of it stretched away, coils wrapped tight around higher dimensions, joining in the distance to others and then others again, until at a great confluence of the parts sat the terrible truth of the whole. She stared at its brilliance. Unlike her passionless dead warriors, who felt naught but the echoes of wrath at the sight, she was fascinated by the beauty on display. She thought, if only such a thing could be tamed, it would drive out she who thirsts forever. If only its hunger was for things other than the meat and blood of our worlds. Perhaps most telling, though, is the hive mind's presence within the warp, and for that, we can look no further than the anti-psychic phenomena the Tyranids generate, known as the shadow in the warp. It's basically a massive null field around the Tyranids that blocks all connection to the Immaterium. If you are familiar with the Sisters of Silence in 40K, or blanks in general, you know they are an individual person that produces a similar field. Being in the presence of such a creature is physically painful for psychers, and elongated exposure can cause, in some cases, severe physical and psychological damage for them, let alone the fact that in the presence of a blank, they cannot utilize their powers. The size of this null sphere is different from blank to blank depending on their ability, but when you take the Tyranids as a singular organism, their null field is just on a completely incomprehensible scale that literally blocks out sections of the warp. There was an interesting passage in the novel Darkness in the Blood, wherein a ship traveling through the warp became besieged by demons. The situation is pretty bleak until a vast darkness falls over the ship and utterly snuffs out the invaders. And then a sea change. The warp altered, though subtly at first. Rosalis had little experience as a navigator of ships. Had he been born to the role, he might have noticed it sooner. Like ancient mariners, tasted the shift from salt to sweet in the waters of Terra's lost oceans. But soon it became apparent to him that the tempest was calming. The shrieking idioforms and psychopomps struggled to take shape. Those that manifested were sucked back to nothingness amongst the energies that birthed them. Colors bled away, currents stilled. A black wall was growing ahead, as impenetrable as the densest fog bank and infinitely more forbidding. The task force sped towards it. The armored angel glinted in front of the darkness and vanished within completely. Against all the laws that governed it, the Imperium lost its mutability. Blackness seeped from the roiling wall of shadow. The visions and images weakened, and then stopped altogether. There was a brief passage through warp space of a primordial calmness, smooth and bright as a moonlit pond, and then the flotilla plunged into darkness. A new terror assailed Raculus. A vast, godlike mind turned its attention upon the ships. So puissant it quelled the fury of the warp. The hive mind was the truth of the Tyranids. The Blood Angels believed the war beasts that plagued the universe were merely the material extrusion of something far greater, and that thing dwelt in the warp. The pressure of the hive mind's regard was immense, crushing Raculus's soul until it felt infinitely small. At great remove, he felt blood trickle from the corners of his mortal eyes. Jeez. The idea that the hive mind is a larger threat than the Chaos Gods is also backed up by an Eldar Farseer in the novel Godlight, wherein he states that comparing it to the Catan and the Chaos Gods, the Great Devourer is perhaps a greater threat than all of them. The Necrons seem to think so as well, as the Tyranids' arrival was what propelled the Silent King out of exile in the first place. The fact that these immortal beings that enslaved and shattered their own gods were afraid of the hive mind is a statement in and of itself.
Yeah, that kind of says a lot.
I just kind of want to put it into perspective.
That's kind of crazy.
All of the major threats that exist in 40K that could theoretically wipe out humanity have all been around for an enormously long time. The Necrons, the Orcs, and the Eldari have existed for over 60 million years. The Chaos Gods, at least in the realm of the Warp, have always existed. Even the Tau, the youngest of all of the factions in 40K, have been around for a few thousand years. The first recorded contact with the Tyranids was in 745 M41, the 745th year of the 41st millennium. The furthest point in the timeline that we've seen so far is 15 years past the start of the 42nd millennium, which means that they've only been observed in our galaxy for 270 years. In the grand timeline of the universe, that's less time than it takes to blink. And yet already, they are being spoken about as if they are the end to all things. In other videos, I've ruminated on just how powerful the Tau, for example, will be if they were given another 1,000 years to continue developing. Where will the Tyranids be 100 years from now? 200 years? 300? As more Tyranids continue to flood into our galaxy, and the ones that are already here continue to repopulate out of control.
So just because the Tyranids have only been here for 270 years in this galaxy, who knows how long they could have been way out there, further reaches of the universe. Just kind of crazy to think. What else is out there?
Singular organism that is the hive mind represents the largest threat to every living creature in the galaxy. They are the end times. And due to the twofold factor of first, their primary driving force being the consumption of all organic life, and second, that consumption resulting in the destruction of all those who empower the gods, while simultaneously growing the shadow in the warp that sunders the connection between the physical and the immaterial, blotting out sections of the warp and further reducing the gods' effectiveness. The Pantheon has no ability to influence the hive or any members of its infinite brood. Thus, the stronger and larger it gets, the weaker they in turn become. The hive mind is a larger threat to the galaxy than all of the gods combined, and is more threatening to each god on an individual level than any of their other siblings or the Emperor. It is for those reasons that I award the #1 spot to the hive mind as the most powerful entity in all of Warhammer 40K. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with my list, or would you change the order around? Is there somebody that definitely deserved to be on this list that I forgot to include? Who do you think is the most powerful character in 40K, and who do you think is the weakest? What's a character that you think is currently not super powerful, but in the future may come to be one of the strongest figures in the entire galaxy? I'm super curious to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And make sure to download War Thunder by using my link in the description of this video to get an amazing welcome pack, which includes multiple premium vehicles, account boosters, and a whole lot more. It's free to play and has some of the most...
Okay, so there we go. There is the, I guess the last 3 most powerful characters. Wow. That is absolutely insane about the hive mind. That is terrifying. You know, that is absolutely insane. Just the sheer power of whatever the hive mind is, you know. Yeah, it's only been in this galaxy for 270 years, but who knows how long it's actually been around. We don't know a whole lot about the Tyranids. You know, is this it, or is this just like a scouting party? You know, is the rest of the Tyranids still out there? Are they still heading, you know, are they still coming in this way towards the galaxy? You know, who knows what even else is out there? You know, it's kind of crazy. Just like our own universe, what else is out there? We have no idea. You know, we could be surrounded just like the Warhammer, the 40K universe was surrounded by Tyranids. You know, but that's kind of crazy, just how insane the hive mind is. And then, of course, Khorne. Very interesting to learn about that one. The Emperor, though, that was some deep stuff there. Just kind of crazy how he's more of a plot device than really anything else. It's just, you know, he's this powerful because he's needed to be for this, but he's not as powerful because we don't need him to be that powerful for this and stuff like that. And then just all the different, you know, did he plan this? Did he know this was going to happen? You know, just all those things. Did he plan the Horus Heresy to, like you said, weed out all those bad Space Marine legions, kind of like what he did with the Thunder Warriors and stuff like that? You know, was that his whole plan and stuff like that? And was it for him to, you know, be killed and put on the golden throne and then become an emperor? I mean, to become a god, so that way there's really no other religions, and the only person to be, you know, seen as a god was him. You know, to take out any rivals, because blah 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 is, you know, is a god too, so let's worship him. You know, no, we have, you know, me, I am the God Emperor. You know, I am the God. So, you know, don't worry about any other religions. It is just me. You know, was that like his plan all along? You know, when he was saying like, oh, but he had trouble beating, you know, an orc and stuff like that, and Horus had to come and save him. You know, was that, you know, his plan? You know, like, was he be like, oh no, oh stop, this orc is hitting me, oh whatever will I do, oh, and you know, here comes, you know, lowly little Horus, oh father, I got this, you know, and then he takes him out, and all of a sudden now Horus is all like, yeah, what now? Like, I just beat the shit out of this, you know, this giant orc and stuff like that. I just saved my father, you know, yeah, puff up my chest, you know what I mean? And that was the Emperor's plan all along, you know. That's just crazy. Like I said, that's like, I don't want to say like, I don't know, manipulative, but that's like Zinch level fuckery, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's absolutely insane. But yeah, I guess it is really hard to really put the Emperor on a list, because, you know, yes, he's powerful in this, but then he's also weak over here because he's needed to be. So it's kind of, you don't really know where to put him. But yeah, that was one hell of a list, and damn, Hive Mind is insane. But let me know about that rumor theory about Khorne, I guess, maybe being a paraplegic, which is, you know, why there's really no pictures of him ever standing. It's always him sitting. I know there's like the fan art like this, but like, as far as I know, at least I think, like, this is like, isn't this like the official Games Workshop image of him, and it's always sitting, you know? Like, I've never seen him like standing up. Like, we can go to like any other you know, any other of the gods and stuff like that, and you can always see them you know, kind of
empowered by every more, you know,
kind of standing, you know. There's Zinch and stuff like that. You know, where's that famous picture of of Slaanesh, you know, the famous,
although this description
Slaanesh picture, always, you know, standing and stuff like that. You know, you got Nurgle here, kind of sort of standing, ish. But it just seems Khorne's always sitting, so I don't know. Let me know. So anyways, there we go. There is the video. There is the top 10 most powerful characters in Warhammer 40K. What a list. That was insane. Let me know, what do you guys think about this list? Do you agree with this list? Disagree with this list? Do you think things should be changed around? Would you put someone else in a different place? Let me know. And what do you think about the Emperor and all those little theories, I guess? Whatever you want to call them, I guess theories. Like, he planned this. This was always his plan all along, and he wanted this to happen, so he let it happen. Let me know. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's true or not? What do you think about the hive mind? Yeah, just let me know all your thoughts and comments down below. So anyways, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. That'd be awesome. Remember, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media. Links in the description box below. Come join me over on Discord. Link in the description box below. We can talk more 40K and stuff like that. Suggest videos for me to watch, because I'm always looking for new videos to watch all the time. Because I just feel bad for always doing Hammer and Major Kill videos all the time. As much as I do enjoy their videos and stuff like that, I kind of want to, go and see like someone else, so I'm not just doing those two all the time. I just kind of feel bad for just doing them. So that's why I'm always looking for suggestions and stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, yeah, just stick around. More videos are on the way, and I will see you guys next time.